I'm recording. If somebody doesn't want their face on, then please mute your video camera. Hi, Kim. Thank you for joining us.
My desk.
Yeah. So this will be recorded and it will be posted on the Kickstarter page. So if you don't want your face or your likeness shown, please just mute your video there. And for a portion of this, I'm going to be doing screen capture, showing you my screen. So nice. Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for your participation, for your generosity, for making this really a real thing in reality. And I hope that it finds all of you well, and I hope that it achieves its goal for you, whatever your goal for it is. And this might be weird, but when I was flipping through my notes to see if I'd left anything out of this, I came across this poem and I thought, I'm gonna read it to you guys to start this off. So it's kind of like a meditation and a welcome to all of this. I am the messenger. I am the things you are afraid to say. I am the truth that comes knocking at doubt when wisdom is on her way. I am the light that comes from within. Shine me back like cat's eyes so we both know where you're hiding. I am the advocate for the freedom of fear. I am the abolitionist of internal prisons. I am the emissary of legalized forgiveness. I am the weight lifted. I am the peace of mind. I am difficult and obnoxious and unrelenting. I am the voice that sits in your gut who sings off key until I am tuned into the universal rhythm of your spirit. I am everything left unsaid until you say it. And then I'm all you heard. Listen for me. I am you. So just want to say thank you for coming on this journey of self. I'm going to share my screen with you if I can figure out how to do that. It updated and now things aren't good. Hello. Does anybody know where they put this? Oh, it's share screen. Okay, I'm sharing that. Awesome. Okay, so in the description or in the chat box, I have put two. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I have put two. I've put the file. Just gonna minimize this for a second. Okay. I have put this file in there for your further, if you want to download it, there's a PDF, and then there's also a PDF of the spread that I mentioned in here. We'll go over the spread too. It was a spread that I did reading for yesterday that seemed to be enjoyable, so I'm glad that it's being received well. The Portal Oracle, like anything with any kind of a potential, does come with a bit of a disclaimer here, because this Oracle is meant to as a means to lead and guide and support, but it's in no way a replacement for any kind of advice given to you by professionals in their fields, your doctors, mental health agents, any kind of professional counselors, legal advice, anything like that. Each person is responsible for their own choices and actions. So please use this and other oracles responsibly, okay? And I'm just also gonna read this to you, and then we'll go over the outline at the end. Heathen Stargazer's Portal Oracle is a different type of oracle developed to help the querent explore the unknown parts of self. Oracles and divination tools have long been used as a means of both peering into the human psyche and determining the future fate of the people involved. This is done through meditation or gazing into images and symbols and allowing the intuition to lead the gazer to insights and wisdom. These methods are so effective that they've been found in every culture, in every time, throughout all of human history. And like anything, they can be used for benign or nefarious ends. They can be used for healing, and their abuse can be damaging. So either way, their impact on people is undeniable. And this is true and possible because they use stories to teach their means. The stories are an intrinsic feature throughout the development of human history. They convey messages and transmit knowledge. They inform us of our past and of ourselves. The story is a beautiful transmission of experience, real or imagined. When listening to an account told by another from their perspective in first person, the narrative of their I gives us a unique look as told by that particular individual. That perspective is a setting feature in the um, in and of itself. So we're only privy to the context of that individual perspective setting. When told from third person narrative, we as the audience become the perspective setting. We get to be the active observer in the situation and navigate its interpretation through our own lens. Each character is viewed from our outside perspective. And there's something to be said for the impactful effectiveness of the second person accounting when a story narrative, the you perspective. In this narrative, you are the character who is subject to the interactions within the context and features of the story. It becomes your story. This is the feature that makes divination tools so effective and confusing. When used effectively, we as the character are given a choice whether or not to claim the story as our own. In this way, we can objectively look at the presented scenario and decide if it fits into our actual situation and what is not applicable. When used ineffectively, we might take the presented story as solid factual truth and base our real life actions accordingly. This can result in all types of missteps in our journeys because we have given the oracle more respect than our own sense of self-knowing. We may favor our desired interpretation over that of the intended lesson of the story. We might falter in a codependent relationship with the never-ending storylines available in the spreading of the cards. We must take accountability for our actions and decisions and do what we must to understand ourselves to the degree that we are able to identify within ourselves the true motivators for our belief systems. Only through rigorous honesty with the self is divination a healthy and effective tool. We become the narrator, and we have to read ourselves differently in the situations. In second person, we are both the narrator and the reader. We become the character in the storyline that we must face and overcome the challenges of the plot. Seeing a story from this perspective leaves us, the audience and the character, the responsibility of informing the perspective setting, and therefore the analysis of the challenge becomes a personal one. Through this adventure, the choices are ours. It is our story. Okay, so here's how it works. You are the main character in the story, obviously. Any type of divination system, we have the querent and the other, or the person in question, or the supporting roles. So when we are addressing these things, it's to get a better insight into where we're trying to go. With this divination system, we're using numbers frequently to assess certain aspects of our intuitive knowing. So sorry, I thought that I had opened it to that page and it didn't. When we use the numbers, each card in the system has number 0 through 72. These numbers represent everything from the numerological aspects, like esoterically assigned to the numbers, and they also represent age groups. When developing this, I kept thinking of this Native American tradition that I had spoken to an old man once for a long time, and he told me that the children were separated into groups of 5 years, like hands, like the fingers on your hands, in order for their developmental stages, so that the kids who were in the older, like if you were 6, you were being mentored by the 10-year-olds. But then when you became 11, you were graduated to the next group of kids, and you were being mentored by the 15-year-olds, and so on. So the lessons and the maturity and the emotional situations and where we were supposed to be in each stage of our development as children would have been categorized in this way. And it gave everybody the responsibility and also like these abilities to move up. And I thought, well, that's a really interesting concept. And so it's kind of, the cards are kind of numbered in this sense. So we wind up with like 1 through 10 being a aspect of maybe childhood or immaturity or the beginnings of things. And then as we move on through the cards, we start to see more of a development in the next decade or the next generation of the cards, which would be, so everything starts at 0 at source. And we move through these developmental stages, and it helps us place maybe gives it a little bit more like understanding of child, or a little bit more understanding of self, a little bit more of a greater understanding of maybe if we're being a little too old about something, or if we're not quite really done with something yet. So here is 10 is rebuild, and so when we get to that point, we're able to now start the leg of our journey, and be enchanted by the next layer of the goal, right? The next layer of the self. So the digits themselves have significant importance, like the 1 plus the 3 equals the 4. So how does a 1 and a 3 interact to become the 4? The individual plus the creation of self. And so when we put the 1 and the 3 together, what are we building our stability on? This is the gates, right? We where we have our choices and where we can move on. Decisions, right? What are we going to add to become the foundation of self, right? This is the creation, and we're going to add ourselves to it. So maybe we should keep going, or maybe we should do something else. And that was an interesting one to sorry, I'm trying to get it to talk to me again, and there it goes. And then the setting, to pay attention to the settings that the cards are, that the image on the card is in. So where are these things doing this? Is it night? Is it day? Is it dawn? Is it snowing outside? What is happening in each of these images that can inform the reader of the feeling, the context, where the story is going? And then the colors, obviously color has a lot of psychological value, and it's been used by religions and by psychologists and by decorators and artists. There is something valuable in the wavelength, in the way that it interacts with our brain wavelengths, that changes our mood. It has a huge effect on our processing centers, and like, you know, beta, theta, gamma, like which part of your brain is being used and processed is highly influenced by color. So that needs to be taken into account. And then when we lay them out, we could just choose a single card and have a question and meditate on it, and then maybe use it as a journaling prompt. My beautiful friend here has suggested that they were writing prompts, and I thought, well, that's an excellent way to use this resource to maybe answer some of the questions individually and just explore our interior worlds like this. And then 3-card spreads are a very common way of reading cards. We can kind of look at the past, the present, and the future, and how the past has influenced the present, and what the present is going to have impacting on the future, or the conflict, situation, and resolution. I did develop a story spread for this particular deck that I was talking about earlier. Now I want this thing to be, and it is right here. So the character starts in the center, and then the setting and then the history kind of sit underneath of it, and the conflict and the action sit just above it, and the climax, of course, is at the top. So that's 6. And then 7 comes over, and it's the resolution and the advice. And then we have the 4 cards at the bottom being supporting, antagonist, character development, and theme. If we look at how the cards interact, you kind of on this side of the querent have the history, the conflict, the support, like how are we getting through this, all kind of in a line together. So those cards are going to communicate what is happening that led to this point, and how we can kind of get through it here. The 6, the climax with the antagonist and the person in the self is in the center, is also very interesting, in that these are the defining features, right? The thing, the conflict, the thing that we're fighting within ourselves, and what is that turning point that's going to change that, to bring it over to the next line, which is that action that we take in this setting, in the place where it's all happening, right? The same place where it's happening, that the conflict is happening, is the place where it has to be resolved. And so that comes to our character development. And so these 3 cards are interacting in that sense of what action do we need to take in this place right now within ourselves that helps us grow into the resolution and the theme, the 7 and the 12. And they are what we're trying to get to, the whole point of the thing and how to resolve that thing. And the 8 is the advice, and it stands alone. It kind of talks to the 1, the 7, and the 8 as to, like, the character needs this resolution. This is the advice that the character needs to take. And this is one of my favorite spreads so far to do with this. And I've tried many, but this one seems to really fill in all the gaps, and it tells a beautiful story, and it makes sense. Now, like I said, we don't need to adhere ourselves to there are no final outcomes. This is prescriptive, not predictive. You decide where your story is going to take you. You decide what comes next. But this is just my one way of showing this, one way of working. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get to see you guys again, and I can't find it because but this is it. This is the Portal Oracle and the story show. Can you guys, does anybody know how to here we go. I think I'm coming back to you guys now. There we are. Sorry. I should never update right before something and then not know where anything on the screen is. But do you guys have any questions or any concerns or?
I have a question, Heather. I just started studying astrology, so of course the number 12 is really important to me. And I noticed you had 12 cards in that spread. And did that just happen because that's the way you made the spread, or were you trying to like use the number 12?
It just happened. It just, so much of this has just happened. And it was like, wow, this is a reinforcement of the power of this, because it everything just kind of came in the order that it needed to come. All of the pictures built themselves in the order and the way that they needed to be built. And then it's kind of amazing, because even as somebody who created the images and created the things, I'm finding new things in them all the time that I didn't expect to be there. And the 12 cards, because the standard spread is 10, and actually in the numerology I only carry up to 9, because I do 12 is 1 + 2 = 3. Everything is 3, 6, 9 in the universe, and the 12 is, there is definitely a very 10, 11, and 12 are very, very powerful numbers. They're very powerful houses. Their transitionary period. And after doing it, I do question, there's a couple things I question about that. Like I only went to 9, and then after doing it, contemplated, why didn't I go to 12? Why did it stop there? And then there was a card that was, there was no card for masculine. And I had actually been making the strength card, and that was going to be, the intention of that was going to be masculine. And then when I was doing the work, it became strength. and I was like, oh, one of these is the masculine, and it never came out because I think that the action of doing it, but I think that it's a feminine aspect because it's this internal work, and it was just really pushing that her, she, we, and there is no like feminine card, but there is just that female community around you kind of a feel. I don't know, but these are questions I'm going to I decided not to change it. There's a couple typos, and I think that the mistakes in your threading are where your soul gets out, so you don't get trapped in there. That's an old superstition, like an old thought. And
what else that reminds me of? I think in Persian rugs, there's always one mistake, and that's because they don't want the rug to be, nothing can be as perfect as God or Allah. So there always has to be a mistake there.
Yeah.
So you see, you're tuned right in.
we just go with the flow of it.
Exactly. You know, I love to hear that explanation of how things just make themselves, because I remember when Alejandro Jodorowsky was making that first movie that kind of made him famous. You know which one I'm talking, El Topo. And people asked him, well, you know, how did you do all this and stuff? And he goes, I woke up every morning and just went out blind, and everything that needed to come together came together effortlessly.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I was living in San Francisco and I was taking a film class this was back in the 80s. And I went out making this movie, and everything just happened the way it was supposed to happen, things that I found and stuff. And so when I hear that something gets made the way that you were talking about that, I said, you know, that flow of it, you know, that it's just sort of like being channeled almost, you know, like spirit is just right over your shoulder looking and going, yes. So it makes it very special, you know, really very special.
Well, good. Well, thank you. I'm so glad. There was definitely a drive and a push to do, you know, something is saying, do it. Don't be afraid. Put it out there. This is supposed to be out there. This is supposed to be something. And it is scary to just kind of, you know, be vulnerable in that sense and have your creations be vulnerable, but they're not my creations. They're them. It's all there. And I can't tell you guys how grateful I am. And I'm really, really hoping that that these are helpful. I hope that this is doing good in the world. Really, really do.
I love that story you told in the beginning. So that's one of the PDFs that we have available here. What you read in the beginning?
The poem that I read?
The poem and the thing about the story. And
the part about the story is it is in the PDF. That's all included in the PDF. And then there's a separate PDF that's just that spread. It's just the outline of the spread where the card placements are, and then, you know, what their assignments are. But yeah, the poem isn't on there. That was just me flipping through. I found it and I was like, oh, this is something it felt like I should share it with this. So were there any other questions? Did anybody have any other concerns?
I don't have any questions or concerns. I've just been playing with the beautiful deck the whole time you've been talking and like getting your energy in there.
Nice.
And the bridge card, it just keeps flying up, which is a 12. So again, to solidify, you know, all right, you've got the download and it's done.
Right.
And yeah, just excited for you. This is awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Question. Are these just, what are they?
Oh,
yes. Okay. So initially when I made the deck, I started with a different printer and I had them be colors. And then I realized like they're not enough colors. And so then when I did the second deck with the other printer, I only filled out up to the 72, but since I used the template for 78 tarot, it gave them to me. And I thought, well, this is a reason for this too, right? Because everybody gets these cards. So you can make them your own card. You can use them. I use them as bookmarks. In my copies,
card we could give somebody and say, here, get this.
Yeah, exactly. They're shiny, you know, I don't know, put a magnet on it. Go to your fridge if you want.
yeah.
So, but I have a couple boxes like the Carolina Miss archetype cards. And in that deck, you get a few, but they're framed. Like the card has the cute little frame that they do on it so that you can create your own archetypes and you can create your own cards. So the back is the same, the quality is the same. And I kind of like that idea too. It is your journey. There's got, this is all about the self and healing. I've used tarot and I've used runes and different divination systems for a really long time, and I've always watched these readers on YouTube as like meditating. I have some really, really great ones who I've followed for a very long time, and it's interesting to see just the different grades of things and what people are using tarot for and what people are seeing in it. And I feel like it's time for an evolution in that, because there's a great interest in it, but at the same time, there seems to be a singular focus on like love and relationships. And it's like, well, that's an aspect, but there's so much more to life. And we're never going to find these healthy relationships and being healthy for our relationships if we're not confronting some of these internal dialogues and narratives that we have within ourselves. So that's why it's important to have an addendum or something else to freshen the view, because if you use these cards with tarot, it's a really powerful pairing. Oops. So I'm going to get kicked out of Zoom because I didn't update for a longer conversation with more than 3 people. So I apparently have to do that now too. But I want to thank everybody for being here today. Thank you guys all for investing in this and yourselves. And I hope that we can all stay in touch and look, you're on Facebook, joined our group, and you come on over and everybody just come hang out and we'll be there. And if you have any other questions, you can email me or like I said, follow up on social media. I'll be there.
I just wanted to say really quick, I showed you all my collection, so I don't like to play favorites with my decks, but I have been getting, ever since I got it, I keep getting pulled to it. So I've definitely been getting to use it.
Good. I'm so glad. We'll keep there's definitely some synergetic connections that are happening here. And I am super excited and grateful to meet all of you and to have made contact, and let's keep doing this because you guys are awesome.
And thank you for listening and making them.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Have a great
I'll
night.
Thank you.
Hope to see you guys in the group then.
Yeah, I'll be back soon. All this focus.
Definitely.
All right.
Hey.
Awesome.
I love the curtains that you have, the space curtains.
Thanks.
All right, you guys.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Nice
Bye.